Proof of work or proof of stake? What's better? What's the difference? You've heard these terms talked about when they're talking about Bitcoin or Ethereum is going from Ethereum to Ethereum 2.0 because it's moving from a proof of work to a proof of stake blockchain. Or how do I stake my cryptocurrencies? And I'm sure a lot of these things can be, very overwhelming. I know they were for me at first. I'm going to explain it to you guys very simply. So Bitcoin and Ethereum currently, which are your two biggest blockchains, run on something called a proof of work kind of analysis. And the way it works is this. When a transaction goes across the blockchain network, the way a proof of work is you have a node. And what a node is, for a very easy, simple way, is a group of computers that solve very complex math problems. And by solving these complex math problems, what they're doing is verifying the authenticity of that transaction going across the network. So think of it. If I want to say here and I want to send my cameraman, Omar, some money, what's happening is a node on the blockchain that supports the blockchain is verifying that information over a number of different network confirmations. And what they're doing is they're solving very complex math problems. And what happens is once they finish solving it, whoever solves that from doing the work for proof of work, verifying that transaction, is rewarded with a part of a Bitcoin. Okay? And what that Bitcoin and verifying that work is called mining. Now, this does take up a good amount of energy, but no more energy than anything else, truthfully. It's not nearly as much energy as, gold mining, or not nearly as much energy as to run the United States banking systems. Two of Elon Musk's kind of fallacies that he was trying to go out and say. Now, a proof of work is not nearly as fast or as efficient as the new proof of stake. What proof of stake is, they use the same nodes or group of computers to verify these transactions, but instead of the individual that actually solves that, the node that solves that on a proof of work being rewarded with that blockchain, the way it works here is, in order for the nodes to actually operate on a proof of stake blockchain, they have to be staked with that blockchain's currency. So, for an example, on the Cardano blockchain, if I have a Cardano node, that node needs to be backed by a certain dollar amount of Cardano's tokens to allow that node to operate there. So what's the theory behind it? So think of it this way. If I am a major shareholder at Microsoft, I have a certain degree of personal interest in making sure that Microsoft runs well and operates well so that the stock does well. So when I, in turn, my shares of stock don't plummet, right? I'm not going to, as the owner of Microsoft, going to allow a malicious attack or not do my job very well knowing in doing so it's going to plummet the share of Microsoft, therefore making my current shares I have decrease in value. So what they say is if computers or nodes are on this blockchain verifying the authenticity of transactions to keep it secure, if we make those nodes who are operating here have to have a certain amount of skin in the game to operate, they're going to make sure that those transactions are verified correctly and protected, because if they don't and something happens, then the value of the blockchain and its security is going to drop, and the very tokens that they are staking to allow to operate are going to drop in value. They're going to be shooting themselves in the foot. So what a proof of stake is the amount of tokens that are pooled together and put on the Cardano network. As the Cardano network, as that node verifies transactions, it is paid, basically, for lack of better, gas is what it's called on Ethereum, but it's paid transaction fees on that blockchain in Cardano. Those payments are then distributed among all the individuals that are pulling their coins together. So think of it. If on the Polkadot network, I believe it's around $30 million of DOT you have to actually operate a node. Well, not very many people have $30 million worth of Polkadot. So what you can do is you can pool together. So let's say I have 100 friends. We all have $300,000 worth of Polkadot. We can pull our money together, put it all in there. So we have 100 of us that pulled our money or staked our coins on Polkadot. Every transaction that goes across Polkadot that we verify with our node, then guess what? The percentage of those transaction fees that the individuals who are sending or using the network have to pay gets divvied out to all of us that stake. So what you can do is I'm getting the full value of the coin of Cardano or Polkadot going up with the market, while at the same time earning, for lack of a better word, dividends, right? That's like what a stock does. You own a stock, the stock price goes up, but then you also get paid dividends, a share of the profits. So in essence, staking is very similar to getting paid dividends, why the value of your coin goes up. Now, the amount of staking that one node can do gives it more authority. Now, there's obviously limits. Not one node can have an overwhelming thing of the network, but obviously makes sake, right? The more staking or more collateral this group of nodes has, the more vested financial interest they have to protect the network. And that's what the proof of stake network is. Now, proof of stake network is much quicker and it uses a lot less energy, because rather than running these massive supercomputers using a proof of work and basically having all these different nodes in the network all have to verify a transaction, on this proof of stake using something called sharding. That's what basically your sharding is, basically dividing up so that a transaction, what you have is, let's say a transaction is from A to Z. What sharding does is these nodes verify A through C, these nodes verify C through F, these nodes verify. So what happens of a transaction, these groups of nodes verify certain parts of that transaction so it can be done very quickly. They're basically breaking up the job, right? They're dividing up that. Whereas on the proof of work, all those nodes have to verify the full transaction, so it's much more slow and it uses a lot more energy. That's why proof of stake, that's why Cardano specifically, when Elon Musk was saying that Bitcoin uses too much energy on a proof of work, his proof of stake with Cardano uses, I think it's almost like a 1% of the energy that Bitcoin does, because guess what? It's a much more efficient, obviously, network on it. And it's also, too, dividing up the transactions. They can be done much quicker, and you don't have to use as much work or power to do that. So Ethereum is moving from a proof of work to a proof of stake blockchain. That is what is known as it's going to Ethereum 2.0. Ethereum is going to serve a very different purpose and a very different segment of the market than I believe Cardano will. And I think Polkadot is going to do something very different. I think they're all great plays, and you should be diversified in all of them. This is not financial advice, but that is the difference between a proof of work and a proof of stake, as simply as I can possibly explain it for you guys.